Welcome to my craft room. Okay, so the pattern that I'm reviewing today is the Simplicity 8626, yep. And I did view A, which is this lovely lady right here in her nice red corset. I have wanted to make a corset pattern for like a year and a half now, and I've had this pattern also for a while. So I was like, you know what, screw it, we're getting on that pirate train. So if you're interested in my review and watching me make this, please keep watching and I will see you at the end for my rating. Alright, so the first step was to put the two front pieces right sides facing together and then pin all around. I am going to mark the bottom, the more angled side, the shorter side. I'm going to mark it for a 2-inch gap. And that 2-inch gap I'm not going to sew so that I can turn it around right sides out and iron it later on. So here I am with the side front pieces, and the instructions said to only pin the unnotched edges. So we're going to leave the notched edge unsewn. And so here you can see that I'm just pinning all the way around the other 3 sides. And now I'm going to sew it all together. Next is the ironing stage. You can see that I've turned all of my pieces right side out, and I'm just giving them a good press so that they can lay flat over the next couple of steps here. Side I've got the boning. It's clear, but it's hard to see right there. And I'm putting it above on top of the seam allowance so that it lays nice and flat. And then what I'm doing is I'm just kind of wiggling this back and forth to get the boning right up to the edge of the seam. I'm going to pin it all the way along the line here, and then once I have the other piece done, I'll sew it together. It was at this point in the process where I got kind of confused with the directions. I couldn't tell where exactly they wanted the boning pieces to go in the center back of the corset because there was also supposed to be the hook and loop closures as well. So figuring that out was a little bit tough, but in the end I made it work. And also I feel like the pieces of boning that they told me to cut out were quite a bit longer than what I actually needed them to be, so I ended up wasting a bit there as well because I had to trim them down about another inch or so, and that might have been my fault as well because I did kind of veer away from the instructions at that point. You'll see it a little bit later in the video. I'll explain it a bit more. So the boning is all in, and I finished some of the edges on the back corset piece. Now what we're going to do is combine this with this, matching the notches, and then I'm going to pin it together right here. At first I thought it was kind of weird that only the front pieces had like interfacing and lining, but because I'm trying this pattern for the first time, I'm just going to make it the way they want me to make it, and if I want to make adjustments later, I can, and I probably will. I like the idea of having something fully lined because this just seems like it would be pretty flimsy But at the same time, it's like a costuming thing, so like I'm not really mad about it either way. Okay, so here we go. While my iron is hot, I'm also going to press the seams this way because we are going to be putting boning in each of these seams here. So I'm going to press it to get it totally flat, and then I can do the boning right away. There's one piece done. Okay, so let me show you what I've done so far. So I finished the edges of the seam allowances here, and then the instructions told me to, at least what I could gather from the instructions, I then pressed the seam allowances, these ones to the front and the side one to the back, and I sewed along the edges of the seam allowance to create kind of a casing. Might be hard to see here, but the stitching line here and here is the seam, so that's where the boning is going to go. And I did that for all 3 seams, and then I also finished the back edge and pressed it over 5/8 of an inch and sewed across it right on the edge here. And then after I did that, I did finish the top, just because I felt like it would be easier to install the boning if the top was already closed. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to slide the boning as far to the left as possible and take my zipper foot and stitch on the right side here. And then in this part, about another 1/4 inch in between the boning and the edge of the fabric, that's where I'm going to stitch my hook and loop closures. I'm going to do the top hem. Since I've already finished it, I'm going to fold that over, sew my 1/2 inch hem on the top, then add in the boning. So let me just sew this quick and I'll come back and kind of explain the rest. Okay. Ooh, I'm so excited. This is really starting to turn out. Here's what it looks like from the front. So this is the front middle, and then here's like the back. And yep, I did exactly what I said. So I folded it over, sewed across the top here. So the top is all finished. So I inserted my boning into the channel here. Nice snug fit, yay. And now what I'm gonna do, since I only have about 1/4 of an inch to fold over, I'm gonna cut it fairly short. That way I have enough room to fold over and top stitch along this edge. So, boop. Now I'm going to put the boning back in here. And I'm going to do that with these other ones. So what I ended up doing was just sewing it on the inside. If I would have known that I was gonna just like resort to this, I would have just done it right away when I sewed the two, like the lining and the main pieces together. So the last thing I have to do is set in the eyelets and then hand sew 5 million hooks and loops. But that's fine, that's fine. Look at that. Really cool. I'd say maybe it distorts it a little, but I don't know if that's intentional or not. Isn't that gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous? I did this side. Now I'm about to do this side. All right, I'm gonna lace it up for you guys, and then I will probably take a break and sew the whatchamacallums, the hook and eye closures on off camera, and then I will see you shortly for the try on. I'm so excited. Isn't this awesome? I absolutely love it. I mean, look at how cute it is, right? Right? Down the side, down the front, zipper. Just, and the earrings, look. The earrings. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. And you know what? I put on some gold hoops earlier and I had like some crazy Esmeralda kind of vibes, you know? So yeah, this is the finished product. I love it. I need more things to wear it with because this is literally the only dress I could find. I had like a shirt and pants too that I was thinking about pairing it with. So let me go put those on so you can see what it looks like too. We're just gonna leave that. The pants, the shirt, the shirt itself is pretty big, so it tends to like, you know, to like gather underneath, but now I can be like an active pirate, you know? I'm so excited. This is probably one of the best things that I've ever made. Definitely on my top 5 list of favorites. Okay. The jacket. Well, inside is a little bold, but I can't wait to wear this out. Super fun. Well, thanks for coming with me on this journey. It was certainly fun. I had a good time styling this baby, and I will continue to have fun styling it as I make more and more items to go with it. Now that this is done, I might, if you saw my last video, I might skip ahead to the like puffy sleeve kind of shirt that I wanted to make and save the other corset pattern for a little bit later. But so let me take you back to my craft room so that I can give you guys the lowdown on the pattern and rate it for you. I have 3 different criteria that I'll be judging it by. And yeah, let's go. I'm still in frame. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed watching me make this. I did struggle a little bit, as you might have been able to tell, but I really love the way it turned out overall. I'm probably gonna make like 12 million of them now because I realized since I made this one in like a pattern, I don't have any like solid skirts that I can wear under it, and this thing practically begs for like a gathered skirt underneath with like a long flowy top. So I wish that I would have done either a solid for my first try or just like also made a skirt, but I was really excited to get this video out, so I ended up not doing that. But now that I do have it, I have about 6 different items that I need to make in order to wear this with, which just means like more outfits, and I'm excited for that. On to my rating. Yes. So for ease of use, I will give that an 8 out of 10. Overall, I thought the pattern pieces were really easy to understand. There were 5 pieces in total, I believe, and it said right on the pattern how many pieces I needed out of which fabric or which layer of the corset. So I really enjoyed that. The directions were okay. There were some spots where I wasn't sure where I was supposed to put the boning, particularly in the back, because the back had the hook and eye closures, but you were also supposed to put boning in there somewhere, and I was just like, and I couldn't really tell from the photos either what was supposed to happen. And the sizing as well was quite accurate. I chose to do a size 20, but when I had the corset finished, I found out that it was just a little too big for me. I actually ended up putting more lacing in the sides of the corset and installing more eyelets, which brings me to the garment construction portion. Overall, for garment construction, I will be giving it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, so I do love this pattern. I love the way it looks and I love the way it feels. But if I were to do it again, I would get rid of the hook and eye closures on the back and just put the back piece on a fold so that the corset itself is all one piece, and then the only closure will be in the front with the zipper. And then the other thing is that I would at least line the rest of the corset as well, if not interface it, because I think it makes it easier to kind of adjust the pattern, the look of the pattern and the feel of it any way you want without worrying about whether or not it's going to actually hold up. For example, the eyelets that I installed on the sides. The eyelets that I installed on the side panels in order to make another lacing, they're falling out and the fabric itself is kind of ripping now because it's not well supported and it's not thick enough in order to hold those eyelets in. So unfortunately, this one probably will not last as long, but I do intend on making another one. Yeah, so there's only lining in these front 4 panels and interfacing on both sides, which gives it this really wonderful, thick, sturdy feel. And when you cinch it in really tight, it actually like holds things in and it makes you also feel very supported. And I was really disappointed in Simplicity for not adding even like just a lining would have been nice. I don't know why they didn't, to be quite honest. Maybe because it was easier to apply the boning and install the boning if there was no lining. Either way, I was less than impressed with that. For accessibility and skill level, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I think accessibility is a solid medium. The fact that the pattern calls for boning, a zipper, and eyelets, and hooks and eyes all together, just those can be easily 2 to 3 times more expensive than the amount of fabric you actually need in order to make this. And there's also interfacing involved, depending. The zipper itself, I think, is pretty, especially for View A, which is the one I tried. The zipper, I think, is pretty essential for ease of use and putting on and everything like that. I would not skip the zipper. However, I think you could skip the eyelets and the boning and the hook and eyes. The eyelets can easily be hand sewn. It just takes a little bit more time and a little bit more effort. It's a little bit harder as well, but if you don't have money to buy the eyelets and the tools, that's totally okay. You can still do it by hand. And the boning itself as well is quite expensive. It's the stuff that I bought that I was using at first. I actually got at a garage sale for like $1. There was only maybe a couple of yards of boning in it, so that was really cheap, but that's the only time I've ever found boning secondhand. And I actually did not have enough to finish the corset. I had to go back to the store and buy more boning. It is anywhere between $3 and $5 per yard. I bought 2 yards, even though I didn't need much. I did want to buy more because I planned on making more of these corsets and I just wanted to have any extra on hand, but yeah, so the boning itself cost me about $6 for 2 yards, and the zipper itself was also about $6. So that's like $12 right there. I did buy extra eyelets, which were also about $5. And if you buy the eyelet pliers, those suckers will put you out about anywhere between $14 and $25. Anyway, all right, where was I? Oh yeah, so zipper, essential, eyelets, optional, hook and eyes, you don't even need them for this one. I wouldn't think so, not at all. And then the boning. Okay, so the boning, yes, that can be expensive. However, you can hack it. If you can't afford boning, go to the hardware store, right? Go to the hardware store, buy a pack of like those heavy duty, longer zip ties. I've seen a hack where somebody used zip ties instead of boning because they ran out, didn't want to go to the store and just use whatever they had on hand. That is fantastic. The boning I have is 1/4 inch And it's honestly like the exact same size and flexibility of like a 1/4 inch wide heavy duty boning. So I think you could totally swing that, and it's so much cheaper too. I might actually try it out and compare and see which one I like better, because if I can skip having to buy boning at the store, I absolutely would. It's expensive, it's kind of ridiculous, and it comes in a casing that I don't even use. If I want to put a casing on it, I have like hundreds of yards of bias tape that I can use. So that's another way that you can make it less expensive in order to make this corset. For fabric, you only need, because the pieces are quite small, it's the corset itself is only made to go around your midsection, so you would probably need anywhere between a 1/3 yard and a 1/2 yard of fabric, depending on how wide your fabric is. So if you're making it out of like a 60-inch wide, you only need about a 1/3. My fabric that I used was cotton, and so it only came in 45-inch, which means I needed a little bit extra. And then I just squeezed out the pieces for the lining out of this little scrap of fabric that I had. But if you got like a 1/2 yard, you'd be able to get your main fabric and your lining all out of the same piece. Another way to make it just a little bit cheaper would be to use like a thicker fabric, maybe some kind of like heavy duty cotton canvas, or you could use upholstery fabric if you had any of that accessible for cheap. And the reason why I say that is because those types of fabrics tend to be thicker, and so you might not even need interfacing if you line the corset and have 2 pieces of those facing each other. The cotton itself is very thin, and so adding the iron-on interfacing was necessary in order to make it sturdy enough. Oh, and then finally, skill level, I would easily rate this a experienced beginner or intermediate pattern. You're using a lot of different techniques here, installing zippers, installing eyelets, installing boning. Honestly, the eyelets and the boning are quite easy. All you're doing is folding over the seam allowance and sewing a line to create a channel, and then you just shove a piece of boning in there and hem it. It's really simple. It seems kind of complicated, but you do need to know how to use a zipper foot and how to install a zipper. I added the experienced beginner in there along with the intermediate because I think this would actually be a great pattern to learn and to practice installing zippers. The reason I say that is because the pattern calls for you to just sew it into like the back of the front pieces. So instead of actually putting it and sandwiching it in between the main fabric and the lining and then turning the whole piece inside out, zipper and all they want you to do is put one side of the zipper on the back. All they want you to do is separate the zipper, put one side of the zipper on one side of the piece, and then literally just sew a line down. And then when you're done, you can fold it over and just like give it a little stitch to keep the zipper tape from poking out of the top. And because it's separating too, you don't have to really worry about like avoiding the teeth or moving around the zipper head. And in general, I think it's really easy for someone to learn the concept of zippers and installing them if they have 2 separate parts to work with and they don't have to worry about like where the right sides are facing and whatnot. I think it would just be really easy to wrap your head around the world of zippers this way. So to recap, ease of use, 8 out of 10, wasn't bad, was a little confusing. Garment construction, I was not happy with. It could have definitely been better. So I gave that a 6 out of 10. And then finally, accessibility and skill level, I gave a 7 out of 10 because it could definitely be more accessible, but at least you can make it that way if you need to. And the skill level is a little bit higher there, so an experienced beginner or an intermediate sewer. And with that, we are done. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process of making this corset. I hope you enjoyed my review. Let me know if you are wanting to try this pattern. Let me know if you have tried it. What was your experience? Did you like it? And If you liked this video, please, please, please give me a thumbs up. If you're interested in seeing more content like this, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I do plan on reviewing many other patterns this year. If you're interested in seeing whether or not I make more of these and how I style them, you can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I will be posting more regular updates, small ones, and I may or may not go live once or twice over the next month as well. So if you want to follow me there, please feel free. That would be awesome. And I will see you all in the next video with the next pattern review. Bye! Now I'm just playing dress up.